The Drew Carey Show after 31 years. When you follow a show week after week, season after season, the cast stops being strangers. They become old friends you never got to say goodbye to. 31 years later, some of them look like time simply forgot to touch them, while others quietly chose a peaceful life far from the spotlight. We are counting down to the most emotional reveal at number 1. Which character do you miss the most? Tell us in the comments right now. Let's pull back the curtain and see where the cast of The Drew Carey Show truly is in 2026. Number 1, we have Drew Carey. As Drew Carey, the bespectacled, big-hearted everyman of Cleveland, Ohio. Born in 1958, Drew was 37 years old when the pilot first aired in 1995. And today, in 2026, he is a magnificent 67 years old, living proof that the best chapters are never the first ones. Now here is what made Drew Carey so special, not just as a character, but as a concept. In a decade drowning in impossibly cool sitcom leads, Drew gave us permission to be average. He worked a dead-end job at a fictional department store called Winfred Louder. He couldn't get a date. He fought with his coworker. He drank beer in his garage with his buddies. And somehow, that was the most comforting thing on television. Drew taught an entire generation that you do not need to be perfect to be worth rooting for. You just need to show up and keep trying. What many fans don't know is that before Hollywood, Drew served 6 years in the United States Marine Corps Reserve as a field radio operator. That military discipline became the backbone of everything he built. And speaking of building, when the show became a surprise mega hit, the production company gifted him a brand new Porsche. What did Drew do? He walked onto the set, asked, "Who here has the worst car?" And when a crew member said he didn't even own one, Drew tossed him the keys to his old Miata. That is the real Drew Carey. Today, Drew is now in his 18th year hosting CBS's The Price is Right, making him one of the longest-serving game show hosts in American television history. He is also a proud minority owner of Seattle Sounders FC, the Major League Soccer team that has won the MLS Cup multiple times. He continues to do occasional stand-up comedy, attends charity poker tournaments, and champions causes for veterans and public education. At 67, Drew Carey isn't slowing down. He is simply proving that Cleveland really does rock. Number 2, we have Craig Ferguson as Nigel Wick, Drew's magnificently wicked, hilariously incompetent English boss. Born in Glasgow, Scotland in 1962, Craig was 34 when he joined the show in its second season, and today, in 2026, he is 63 years old and still as quick-witted as ever. What Craig brought to the Drew Carey Show was pure comedic electricity. Nigel Wick was supposed to be the villain, the heartless corporate boss. But Craig played him with such impeccable timing and absurd charm that you couldn't help but love him. He turned every scene into a masterclass in physical comedy and deadpan delivery. The character reminded us that sometimes the most ridiculous people in our lives are the ones who accidentally teach us patience and resilience. Here is a piece of trivia that speaks volumes about this man's character. Craig grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Scotland, left school at 16, and battled serious personal struggles in his youth. But he found the courage to start over entirely, eventually moving to the United States in 1995, the very same year The Drew Carey Show launched, and becoming an American citizen in 2008. His memoir, American on Purpose, is one of the most honest, funny, and deeply moving books any comedian has ever written. After leaving the show, Craig went on to host The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson on CBS for nearly a decade, from 2005 to 2014, winning a Peabody Award along the way. He hosted the syndicated game show Celebrity Name Game, winning 2 Daytime Emmy Awards. And now, get this, in 2026, Craig is the brand new host of the game show Scrabble on the CW network, proving that this man simply cannot be kept away from a microphone. He is also still touring with his stand-up show, Pants on Fire, performing his signature blend of storytelling and audience improvisation in theaters across the globe. Craig is happily married to art dealer Megan Wallace Cunningham, and together they are raising two wonderful sons. At 63, Craig Ferguson is the walking, talking definition of reinvention. If you thought those two stories were something, just wait, because our next star took a completely different path, and his journey will absolutely surprise you. Number 3, we have Didrick Bader as Oswald Lee Harvey, Drew's lovably dim-witted, wonderfully loyal best friend. Born on Christmas Eve, 1966 in Alexandria, Virginia, Didrick was just 28 years old when the show began, and today, in 2026, he is 59, looking every bit the part of a man who has thoroughly enjoyed his life. Oswald was that friend we all wish we had, the one who would follow you into any ridiculous scheme without ever asking why. He wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but his loyalty was unshakable, and that was the whole point. In a world that often rewards cynicism, Oswald reminded us that being a good, loyal, goofy friend is its own kind of genius. There is something deeply healing about a character who simply loves his people without conditions. Here is a delightful behind-the-scenes fact. Didrick and Drew Carey are the only two actors who appeared in all 233 episodes of the show. Every single one. That kind of dedication tells you everything about Didrick's work ethic and the bond this cast truly shared. Now, what makes Didrick's post-show career truly remarkable is his extraordinary versatility. You know him as the unforgettable Lawrence from the cult classic Office Space. You know him as Rex, the Taekwondo instructor from Napoleon Dynamite. But you also know his voice, because Didrick Bader is the voice of Batman in multiple DC animated series and films, starting with Batman, the Brave and the Bold. He went from playing the goofiest guy on television to voicing the Dark Knight himself. He starred as the lovable dad Greg Otto on ABC's American Housewife for 5 seasons, and even reunited with Drew, Ryan, and Kathy for a special guest episode. He has been happily married to actress Dulcie Rogers since 1997, and they have 2 children together. At 59, Didrick Bader is one of the hardest working and most beloved character actors in Hollywood, and his best work keeps coming. Number 4, we have Krista Miller as Kate O'Brien, Drew's sharp, beautiful, tomboyish best friend, and the woman every viewer secretly hoped he would end up with. Born in New York City on May 28, 1964, Krista was 31 when the show premiered, and today in 2026, she is a radiant 61 years old, and honestly, thriving more than ever. Kate O'Brien was the emotional anchor of that entire friend group. She was the one who told Drew the truth when no one else would. She was funny without trying to be, beautiful without making it the point, and loyal in the way that really matters, showing up when things got hard. For a whole generation of viewers, Kate was the blueprint for what a real friend looks like. What many people don't know is that Krista almost didn't get the role. The producers initially thought she was too inexperienced. But Larry David, yes, that Larry David, the co-creator of Seinfeld, personally gave Krista a rough cut of her guest episode on his show to use as an audition tape. It worked, and television history was made. Krista is married to writer-producer Bill Lawrence, the creative genius behind Scrubs, Ted Lasso, and Cougar Town, and she has been a standout performer in every single one of his projects. She played the legendary Jordan Sullivan on Scrubs and Ellie Torres on Cougar Town. But right now, in 2026, Krista is absolutely shining as Liz Bishop on Apple TV Plus's hit comedy drama Shrinking, alongside Harrison Ford and Jason Segel. The show is currently in its 3rd season and is the most watched series on the platform. And here is a beautiful detail. Krista also serves as the music supervisor for Shrinking, Ted Lasso, and Scrubs, handpicking every song you hear. She and Bill have 3 children together, including singer Charlotte Lawrence. At 61, Krista Miller is having the biggest moment of her career. The best was absolutely worth the wait. While some stars blazed new trails, our next performer quietly became one of the most respected character actors working today, and his range will leave you speechless. Number 5, we have John Carroll Lynch as Steve Carey, Drew's older brother, a gentle, kind-hearted man whose cross-dressing was handled with surprising warmth and dignity for 90s television. Born in Boulder, Colorado on August 1, 1963, John was 34 when he joined the show in 1997, and today, in 2026, he is 62 years old and one of the most quietly powerful actors in the entire industry. Steve Carey was a revolutionary character, even if nobody called him that at the time. In an era when television often treated gender nonconformity as a punchline and nothing more, The Drew Carey Show gave Steve layers. He was a loving brother, he was warm, he was brave in his own quiet way. And the show, remarkably, never once asked us to laugh at Steve, only with him. For many viewers who felt different, Steve was a tiny beacon of acceptance in their living rooms. Here is a fact that will astound you. John Carroll Lynch graduated magna cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa from the Catholic University of America. He spent 8 seasons with the legendary Guthrie Theater Company in Minneapolis, performing Shakespeare, Chekhov, and Shaw before Hollywood ever knew his name. Since the show, John has become one of cinema's most in-demand character actors. He played the unforgettable Norm Gunderson in the Coen brothers' masterpiece Fargo. He portrayed Mac McDonald, one of the founders of McDonald's, in The Founder. He was chilling as Twisty the Clown in American Horror Story. He directed the critically acclaimed film Lucky, starring Harry Dean Stanton, and in 2025, John made his Broadway debut in Oedipus, directed by Robert Icke. He also co-stars in the Amazon series Ballard. With over 220 acting credits to his name, John Carroll Lynch is the definition of an artist who lets the work speak for itself. Number 6, we have Ryan Stiles as Louis Kaniski. Drew's brilliant but beautifully unmotivated best friend, the brain to Oswald's pinky. Born in Seattle, Washington on April 22, 1959, Ryan was 36 when the show started, and today, in 2026, he is a magnificent 66 years old, still the tallest, funniest person in any room he walks into. Louis Kaniski was a genius who chose friendship over ambition, and honestly, what a beautiful choice that was. He could have been anything. The show hinted he was a former scientist, but he chose to spend his days with the people he loved, drinking beer and getting into absolutely absurd situations. Louis taught us that intelligence without joy is empty, and that sometimes the smartest thing you can do is simply be there for the people who matter. A piece of trivia that reveals who Ryan truly is: since 2009, he has been a dedicated fundraiser for the Burned Children Recovery Center, raising over $500,000 for children with burn injuries. He doesn't publicize it, he doesn't seek praise, he just does the work. That is the measure of a man. Ryan, of course, is a living legend of improvisational comedy through Whose Line Is It Anyway?, both the original British version and the American revival, where his partnership with Colin Mockery became the stuff of comedy legend. He played the recurring character Dr. Herb Melnick on 2.5 Men for over a decade. In 2025, he joined the Netflix comedy series Leanne, and he continues touring with the live improv show Who's Live Anyway?, bringing 90 minutes of unscripted brilliance to theaters across North America. He has been married to Patricia McDonald since 1989, and together they have 3 children. He also founded and runs the Upfront Theater in Bellingham, Washington, mentoring the next generation of comedians. At 66, Ryan Stiles hasn't lost a single step. He's just gained more stories to improvise with. Now, our next 3 stars took roads that were very different from the Hollywood spotlight, and each one is more inspiring than the last. Number 7, we have Cynthia Watros as Kelly Newmark, the sweet, quirky love interest who joined Drew's world in the later seasons, replacing Krista Miller's Kate. Born in Lake Orion, Michigan on September 2, 1968, Cynthia was 34 when she joined the show in 2002, and today, in 2026, she is 57 years old and still working with remarkable dedication. Joining the cast of any beloved show in its final stretch is one of the hardest things an actor can do, The audience has already bonded with the originals, and they're watching you like a hawk. But Cynthia walked in with such warmth and natural charm that she earned her place without ever trying to replace what came before. Kelly Newmark was a different kind of energy, softer, sweeter, a little more vulnerable, and Cynthia made that feel like exactly what the show needed. What many viewers don't realize is that Cynthia was already a Daytime Emmy Award winner before she ever set foot on Drew's set. She won the prestigious award in 1998 for her portrayal of the complex villain Annie Dutton on the soap opera Guiding Light. Drew Carey himself welcomed her so warmly that he sent her flowers every single week she was on the show. That is the kind of set he ran. After the show, Cynthia went on to play the mysterious Libby on ABC's global phenomenon, Lost, gaining international recognition. And today, she is a lead cast member on ABC's long-running daytime drama, General Hospital, playing the dynamic, complicated Nina Reeves, a role she has held since 2019 and for which she has earned multiple fan-voted awards. She is the proud mother of twin daughters, and she has spoken openly and courageously about the importance of mental health and resilience. At 57, Cynthia Watros is a quiet powerhouse who just keeps delivering. Number 8, we have Ian Gomez as Larry Almada, the scheming, smooth-talking co-worker at Winfred Louder, who used his boss Mrs. Louder's romantic attraction to him as a ladder for advancement. Born in New York City on December 27, 1964, Ian was 30 when the show began, and today in 2026, he is 61 years old. Still the lovable comedic presence he has always been. Larry Almada was the guy in the office who somehow turned charm into a career strategy. He wasn't evil, he was just shamelessly opportunistic, and Ian played that with such disarming likability that you almost wanted him to succeed. In a show full of lovable losers, Larry reminded us that the hustle is real, and sometimes the most entertaining people at work are the ones playing a completely different game than everyone else. A wonderful trivia detail: before he became an actor, Ian worked in the box office at Chicago's legendary Second City, watching the likes of future superstars walk in and out before eventually joining the troupe himself. He trained alongside some of the greatest comedy minds of a generation. Ian went on to play the beloved Javier Quintada on Felicity, the endearing Andy Torres on Cougar Town, alongside his former Drew Carey Show castmate Krista Miller, and the no-nonsense James Olsen's photographer, Snapper Carr. On Supergirl in A Beautiful New Chapter, Ian married actress and screenwriter Annie Mumolo, the Oscar-nominated co-writer of Bridesmaids, in January 2026. At 61, Ian Gomez is proof that life's best surprises often come in the second act. Number 9, we have Kate Walsh as Nikki Fiper, Drew's on-again, off-again girlfriend and fiancée, whose storyline was one of the show's most emotionally complex arcs. Born in San Jose, California, on October 13, 1967, Kate was 30 when she first appeared on the show in 1997, and today, in 2026, she is 58 years old, and arguably more famous than she has ever been. Nikki Fiper was the woman who made Drew believe he could actually find love, and then broke his heart. It was a messy, real, human storyline, and Kate Walsh played every note of it with grace and vulnerability. She brought a complexity to the role that went beyond what the scripts demanded, hinting at the dramatic powerhouse she would soon become. The beautiful irony of Kate's career is that the Drew Carey Show was considered her small break. She almost didn't get the part, but she took her shot and it led to everything. Because a few years later, she walked onto the set of Grey's Anatomy as Dr. Addison Montgomery, and television would never be the same. Kate became a global icon through Grey's Anatomy and its spin-off, Private Practice. She returned to Grey's in January 2026 for a guest appearance, proving that fans never stopped loving Addison. She has starred in Netflix's The Umbrella Academy and continues her role in the global hit Emily in Paris. In 2026, she was announced as the lead in a new CBS sitcom pilot called The Tilbrooks. She is engaged to Australian farmer Andrew Nixon and splits her time between Los Angeles and Perth, Australia. At 58, Kate Walsh has built one of the most impressive and diverse careers of anyone who ever walked through the doors of Winfred Louder. But we cannot complete this journey without honoring the true heartbeat of the show, and that heart belongs to Kathy Kinney. Born in Stevens Point, Wisconsin on November 3, 1954, Kathy was 40 years old when she first painted on Mimi Bobek's legendary blue eyeshadow in 1995. Today, in 2026, she is 71 years old, and she chose a path that no one saw coming, and it might be the most beautiful story of them all. Let's talk about Mimi Bobek for a moment. On the surface, Mimi was Drew's loud, gaudy, in-your-face office nemesis. But beneath all that magnificent makeup and those gloriously outrageous outfits was something profoundly radical. Mimi was a woman who refused, absolutely refused, to shrink herself for anyone. She didn't apologize for how she looked, how she talked, or how much space she took up. In a television landscape that often told women they needed to be smaller, quieter, and more palatable, Mimi Bobek said no with every fiber of her being. And for millions of viewers who felt like they didn't fit the mold, Mimi was a revolution dressed in sequins. Here is the beautiful secret behind the character. Mimi was only written into the pilot as a one-time guest appearance. One episode. That was supposed to be it. But Kathy Kinney's performance was so electrifying, so undeniable, that the producers made her a series regular for all 9 seasons, 233 episodes. She took a throwaway role and turned it into one of the most iconic characters in sitcom history. That is not luck. That is pure, undeniable talent. After the show ended, Kathy did something remarkable. She stepped away from the Hollywood spotlight, not in defeat, but in triumph. She co-created a children's entertainment website called MrsP.com, dedicated to promoting literacy and creativity among young children. She co-authored a book called Queen of Your Own Life, a guide that encourages women to claim their happiness and live life on their own terms. She continues to host weekly online check-in sessions with her community, fostering conversations about friendship, laughter, and emotional strength. She is happily married and lives a quiet, fulfilling life far from the noise of Hollywood. Kathy Kinney looked at fame and said, "Thank you, but I have something more important to build." She chose children's literacy over red carpets. She chose empowerment over entertainment. She chose a beautifully private life filled with purpose, love, and meaning. Not every hero needs a spotlight. Some heroes simply choose to live. And that, in itself, is the most beautiful role of all. Before you go, let's have some fun. Quick trivia for the die-hard fans. What was the name of Drew Carey's beloved dog on the show? Was it A, Speedy, or B, Lucky? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Let's see who the real fans are. So if you could go back in time to the exact living room where you first watched The Drew Carey Show, with the old couch, the warm light, and that unforgettable theme song playing, who would you want sitting on the couch next to you one more time? Honor your loved ones in the comments below and subscribe to keep our golden memories alive. Cleveland rocks, and so do you.